Welcome everyone back to another edition of Beyond the PreCon. My name's Steve and it's time to check it out. Alright, today we got Wasp, the other special character, Ant-Man and the Wasp, the combination of the two. And today we get Nadia Van Dyne. I'm just going to remove her from the sleeve here. So we got Nadia Van Dyne. But before we go any further, guys, if you guys like these videos, give it a like, thumbs up, comment, always all the blah, blah, blah. All right, here we go. Let's keep going. Nadia Van Dyne is a genius with a hand size of 6, 11 hit points, and a recovery of 3. She has an action called GIRL, Girl. And the girl wants to shuffle up to 2 cards with a printed mental resource from your discard pile into your deck. Now this is so powerful. So this recursion mechanic is off the chains fun, and it's one of the aspects I think that most people kind of forget when you are playing the Wasp. Original thoughts on the Wasp. For a lot of the community, she was a big letdown, and I think because of Ant-Man had so many interactions, so many things that happen when you flipped and everything. Because she didn't have all of that, people are just like, oh, I'm not gravitating. But if you pass that and realize that this is a game, if they just printed a second Ant-Man, why would you want to buy it? So for me, it makes perfect sense that she is a completely different design, still working with the same thematics. I love this character. She's probably in my 3rd or 4th favorite characters in this game. Ms. Marvel, Ghost Spider, and it's a toss-up there. So, but again, I like these female characters. It's between Black Widow and her, and then I don't even know, I think even Spider DR is right up there. So my 3rd spot is very, very flexible. All right, so that action to shuffle up to 2 mental resources is banonkers, so good. Imagine you get your genius on turn 1, you spend your genius, and then you shuffle that genius back in. That is the optimal play. Or you get some of her attack cards. She has a lot of mental resources, but there's a lot of cards with the mental resource. You're like, oh man, I can't play this right now, but when I'm next turn, maybe if I get it next turn, I'll be able to play it. So you get to recycle some of the best cards in the game, which is the best. All right, that's it for her again. Now, when she goes to tiny form, she becomes Tiny Wasp with an attack of 1, a thwart of 1. She is a tiny Avenger with a defense of 2, hand size of 5, and 11 hit points. She has an ability called Small But Mighty. And then after you Wasp or an event you play defeats a minion or side scheme, deal 1 damage to the villain. So that's really cool. So you can kind of like, oh, I kill the minion, boof, I get a damage on the villain. So it's all this little tiny damage. I love it. I love it. It's just like death by 1,000 cuts. For me, it's super fun. And when she flips to giant form, roar, she is the Wasp. Again, 2 thwart, 2 attack, 3 defense. Very solid. She is an Avenger with the giant trait. And then she has still a hand size of 5. So that's really cool that it's different from Iron Man, where she has the same hand size in giant form as in tiny form. And then what does she do? These little stars. So the little stars threat you remove using your basic thwart can be divided among schemes as you choose. And then damage you deal can be divided amongst enemies as you choose. Now, just little rules. If there is so when you divide it, it is still 1 action. So let's say there's a crisis icon with 1 threat and 1 threat on the main scheme. Her ability gets nerfed, so she can only remove the 1 threat off the crisis. She wouldn't be able to remove the 1. It's not, I'm removing 1 and then 1. It's 1 action. So that's one thing to remember with this. Same thing for the attack. If there's a guard with 1 health and only the villain, well, her attack is going to just attack the guard. She won't be able to divide it because you can't attack the villain if there's a guard. So that's just some little nuances that you want to figure out. Again, just like with Ant-Man, if you don't like flipping up the cards, here's the solution. Boof. And Wasp and Ant-Man, you can make a little tiny one in giant form, and hey, big surprise, look. So there you go. I made it easy for myself. So there you go. So you can choose that, and then you can put these heroes back into their nice make it shine foil sleeves. Booyah! All right, there you go. All right, so now let's take a look at our signature cards. What makes her so unique? All right, so here we go. We have, I'm just going to put here. All right, so we have the same as Ant-Man. We had the Pym particles because they work kind of the same. So I'm glad there's a card that brings them back. Has the same ability. If you are in tiny form, you draw a card. And if you're in giant form, you heal 2 damage, which is great. She only has 3 cards that you want to set up. The most important one is her helmet. Kind of like Ant-Man, same story. The helmet is the key piece. That gives her +1 thwart and +1 attack. So that means she can get an attack of a thwart of 3 and an attack of 3. She can become a 3/3. Oh, sorry. She can become a 3/2/3 in giant form, and then in tiny form she becomes a 1/2/2. All right, there you go. So there you go. So her helmet doesn't seem as powerful as the other one, but I think it's really good, that +1 attack in here. The second most important upgrade you want to put out is the Red Training Room. Red Room Training, it says when you're giant, you gain Retaliate, which is awesome. And then when you are in tiny form, your basic attacks gain Piercing. So there you go. So Piercing is super solid. You get to remove the tough before dealing the damage. Amazeballs. And then finally her last one, which is kind of cheeky, but unless you really want to play off of it, it is the Biosynthetic Wings. Wasp gains the aerial trait. So you would gain the aerial trait both in tiny and in giant form, but it does say when you would take any amount of damage, if you are in tiny form, you get to prevent 1 of that damage. So it's, again, it doesn't seem super sexy, but if you want to play with the aerial cards, which are very, very good, and coming later, then this is a card that you'll want to put on the table faster. All right, now let's take a look at some of her signature cards. Just like Ant-Man, she has a form-changing card. It is not resize, it is Rapid Growth. And there's 2 copies of this, and it's a giant superpower. So when you use one of your basic powers, thwart, attack, or defense, change to your giant form. Now, another thing here, if you are already in giant form, you stay in giant form. So you don't get a free flip. You would still, if you were in tiny form, you would be able to go to giant form and use that. But if you're already in giant form, you can stay in giant form and still play this card. All right. And then you get +2 to that power. So yes, it costs a resource. But it does give you that +2 boost that you can divide how you choose. I really enjoy the Rapid Growth. After that, we have one of my favorite cards here is the Giant Help. So you'll notice that when you want to see the thwart events, you'll want to be in giant form unless you're looking to do the ping damage. Like Giant Help here is hero action thwart. You remove 3 threat from a scheme. 4 threat if you are in giant hero form. So that is very good. And among side schemes, as you choose. So if you're in tiny form, you get to remove 3 threat from one scheme, that's it. But if you're in giant form, you get to divide that 4 threat. So reproducing her basic ability with this card. So this is one of the cards that I cycle the most in that deck. All right, after that, we have damage. So Wasp is a killing machine. So she is really, really focused on attack. And then she doesn't need attack events in her deck. She already is the attack event. And let's take a look. So we have the Wasp Sting, which is a 2-cost attack that says you deal 4 damage. If you are in giant form, you deal 4 damage as you choose. Again, reflecting what her basic power can do. But if you are in tiny form, you deal 5 damage to an enemy. So 2 for 5 is very, very powerful. But it's only 1 enemy. There you go. And then finally, her super big attack, which is called the Pinpoint Strike. She's got 3 copies of this bad boy, and says you deal 7 damage to an enemy. But if you are in tiny form when you do this, you deal an additional damage to that enemy, and it gains overkill. So that is really strong. So 8 damage with overkill. So let's say you got a minion with 1 health. So that 1 extra damage kills the minion. Then you do 7 damage to the villain. And then you get that extra damage from the small but mighty trigger. Super, super fun. So there's all these things you can kind of trigger with that. And then obviously her signature ally is the Ant-Man. 2 thwart, 2 attack. But if you are in giant form, he gets +1 attack. If you are in tiny form, he gets +1 thwart. So that's a super good ally that you probably want to try to keep alive to really have some fun here and do that. All right, let's take a look at our pre-con and how we can make it better. All right, so this is how the pre-con is built and how you pretty much want to play it. So you got the reprints here that we get are the 2 powers of aggression and the 3 double resources. We get awesome new double resources for basic cards. So the Power in All of Us, we get our Swarm Tactics, which was a reprint because it came in the Ant-Man pack, but it's still good to get 2. So we got a mix of aggression and basic cards that are super strong. As for allies, we got Wasp and Thor in aggression. And then we got Ironheart and Spider-Man Miles Morales in basics. For events, we got Surprise Attack. So when you change form, you can deal damage. Into the Fray, which is probably one of the best aggression cards events still to date. 3 for a 6 damage attack, and then all the excess damage removes threat. So something that aggression was really lacking. We get the Boot Camp, which gives all of our allies +1 attack. So that really helps certain strategies and aggression. And then Lie in Wait, which is a preparation, which is fun. Black Widow really appreciates that. That says after your minion engages you, you deal 3 damage to that minion. And we re-got, so if you didn't get the Black Widow pack, you get the Quinn Carrier, that elusive Quinn Carrier, which is a vehicle only play if you are an Avenger. So that is the deck. The deck, how you want to be playing it, is pretty simple. You want to be able to put out your boot camp. You want to be able to flip down back and forth every turn. Even though you're playing aggression, you still want to go to alter ego a lot. And then having a little minion, once you find a minion, and just bringing him down to 1 health, and then you just into the fray, control the main scheme like that. And then the fact that you can flip, you'll notice her cards. The reason why I play this a lot is her rapid growth, her giant help. You'll notice that there's not a lot of ways to remove threat. So the best way to remove threat is with those giant helps. So cycle those a lot if you're just going to be playing the deck as is. But since we want to go beyond the pre-con, how can we increase or make this deck better? Well, there's a few cards we definitely need to get rid of. So boot camps, we're going to get rid of 2 of these. They're great, but only 1 in the deck is necessary. Same thing for Lie in Wait. As much as I like Lie in Wait, because it's 1 max per player, I think having 1 in is enough. I don't think you need 2 of those, 3 of those, because it's just going to clog your deck a little bit. I love Into the Fray because then it means you need to get some minions to do some stuff. And then the final card I would remove is the Wasp. Because most of her deck is mental, the Wasp is going to be hard to trigger unless you get a Power of Aggression. So those are the 5 cards I would remove. And what would I replace them with? Easy peasy. All right, so my deck, I would remove these 5 cards. The first thing I would add is I would add another aggression ally. I would be adding Tigra. Not only is she a mental, so if you don't have time to play her that turn, but once you have that boot camp out and she's pinging minions for 3, 3 is 80% of the minions out there at the moment. So she just takes all the minions out. Yes, it kind of goes against your small but mighty triggers, but it's still super effective. The next one I would add is Nick Fury. Obviously, he's a mental, so being able to recur Nick Fury 2 or 3 times Like you play Nick Fury, go down to Alter Ego, shuffle in your Genius and Nick Fury. Oh, get him again next turn. Bam, do it again. Super solid. The next thing I would add is another support. I would be adding an Avengers Mansion. Again, oh, I don't have a double resource this turn. I'm just going to shuffle this back in and build something else instead. And then when I get my mansion next turn, maybe I'll get my double resource and then I can play it down and easier. And then finally, I would definitely add 2 first aids to this deck. The one to keep your big allies alive. Probably allies like Tigra, if ever she's, you didn't get a chance to do her. But most of the time, I would try to just keep Ant-Man alive. Put Ant-Man down, pay 4, and then he's either a 3-2 or a 2-3, whichever size you're in. So that's really, really solid, and he can help you win the game. And then, especially with the boot camp, then he becomes a 4 attack when you're in giant form. So you take care of the threat, he takes care of the damage. Super solid. All right, so there you go. So that is what I would recommend like this. I'm going to propose another deck. I think Wasp in Justice is super fun with the core set cards. You have everything you need with the core set to make her super tough. So I'm going to show you what that looks like for a Justice deck with her. So if you only got the core cards, this is what my suggestion for a deck with her in Justice, which is super fun. And again, you want to focus on removing as many cards from your deck as possible and just having all these nice resources here to do all sorts of fun things. So the 2 doubles Justice, the 3 recursion, all the same resources. So the 7 double resources. Swarm Tactics, we got the Daredevil, the 2/4 Justices, 3 Surveillance Team, 1 Heroic Intuition that can bring her thwart up to 4 when she has her helmet. So again, you're super in control. Then you got the Mockingbird, Nick Fury, Spider-Man, Ironheart. You got 1 Helicarrier, 1 Quinn Carrier, and the 2 Avengers Mansions. Now the reason for 2 is just you want to find it faster. And then if you don't get it on your turn 1 with a double resource, which is more likely to happen now, and then the 2 first aids. So that's a very, very control-y flip up, flip down, flip up, flip down, and then you should not have a problem. Between the 4 Justices and your giant helps, you should never have a problem with threat at all in any of the scenarios. So there you go. So now let's take a look at some of the hero packs that really make a difference for this hero. All right, so you love the Wasp and then you want to build her up. All right, what are the hero packs to go for next? So Venom hero pack would definitely be my first choice because of a few cards. The first one would be the Crew Quarters. That's one of his complimentary cards. The Side Holster, again, in the same frame of mind that I always want to get rid of as many cards in my deck as I can. Then we have the Making an Entrance, which is so good with her, because then you can also divide, which is great. So you can do a big thwart. So with a rapid growth in this, you get +4 thwart. It's just crazy. So +5 if you have Heroic Intuition. So then you're thwarting for 7 divided how you choose. It's so powerful. And then with the Sonic Rifles, giving her the ability to confuse the villains, and then flipping down with no repercussions means you're always going to be way more in control than you might think. So all these nice cards come in the Venom pack, which I highly, highly recommend for this. The second one is the Ironheart pack. Now, Ironheart gave us some really cool things. Ironheart's a genius, and so is Nadia Van Dyne. So they have 2 geniuses on their team on these, what's it called? The Runaways or the Champions? Yeah, the Champions, which is interesting. She also gave us another great ally, Snowguard. And then she gave us a person that really triggers off the aerial stuff with Cloud9. So between Cloud9 and Nadia, you can still get that 4th thwart. So I really, really like it. And then with the R&D facilities, well, you can make that even higher and really increase her thwarting capabilities really, really by a lot. But I really like the ingenuity here with her. So these 4 cards are in the Ironheart pack. Pack number 3 is going to be, well, if you bought Wasp, you definitely should check out Ant-Man. Again, because there's a second Ant-Man in the thing. You also got the Moxie that increases all of her stats. And then you have some awesome cards in aggression and for leadership and justice. You got that lay down the law, which means you don't have to just rely on your giant strength, your helping hands there. Oh my god, giant help. Man, I can't even name my cards anymore. So there you go. And then you got the moment of triumph that really has some good plays that you can do with those the piercing strike there. What's it called? My god, Steve, learn your cards. Pinpoint strikes. There you go. And then finally, so those four cards come into the Ant-Man pack. And then finally, honorable mention to Nebula, which has a few cards that I really like. First of all, One Way or Another, that just goes and digs for side schemes, that makes her draw faster and has a lot more fun that you can play with. And then card like Justice Served. And then there's also Brains Over Brawn, where you can really have some fun for if you want to deal more damage. So, but I really like these cards again for permanent justice with her. So there you go. So overall, Nadia Van Dyne, the Wasp, is a very fun character to play. I didn't mention a lot of protection, but protection with Star-Lord, with Ever Vigilant and stuff like that, where you can thwart and ready and thwart again. It's just, there's so many nice combinations that you can play with her. And again, this girl action that you can recur the mental cards. Just take a look at the mental card pool. I could have also put in the, what's her name? Moon Girl from the Nova pack. I could have made an honorable mention for that, but it's just for one card. But see, I mentioned it. So yeah, definitely Nadia is a hero not to be trifled with. She is, so how you want to play this character, again, control the threat on in the beginning, and then switch to kill mode, and then go with those piercing strikes. And don't be afraid, flip back and forth every turn. You're still gonna win the game. All right, here you go, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope this little Beyond the Precon will help you play the Wasp, play the game with the Wasp, and hopefully you can beat the game. Ciao, ciao.